Good morning, people. Got Vivek and Pyramid Scheme already in the chat. Good morning to you. How you both doing? Wow. There we go. Okay, I'm trying something new. We have the chat on the stream as well. So let me see if I can put this on there without it being too intrusive. Let's try this out, shall we? Oh, before we go. Oh, I can't change the color, right? Whatever. How is everyone doing? Good morning, Hickory. Hi, Vivek. Yeah, this thing looks cool. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I'll start with a quick catch up, right? What we've been doing in the background, or what I've been doing in the background. I've been doing a lot. Let me think about it. So, first of all, I've changed the material a little bit. So now what I did is I've made the end pieces like a little bit less dark so that you can actually see that there's like splintered bits of wood coming off of it. That's one thing that I did. I did an update to like the pottery material, I think, this week. And I basically did a polish pass on almost all the assets. So I don't know if you still remember, but like I had a lot more assets in like the 2 polish section over here. And I've basically done a polish pass on like a lot of them over the week. What I've also done is oh yeah, I've changed the materials a little bit. So we've got before I was using one material on all of it. So it was technically also calculating opacity for like all the rest of the shaders, right? Let me explain that a little bit better. Let's go over to a prop, shall we? Let's pick a single one. So let's take this bench, for example. What I was doing before is the entire bench had a single shader. So it would also calculate all the opacity for like the stuff that didn't really need it, right? So it was basically costing us like budget for no reason. So what I did is now I have the shader with opacity on the stuff that needs it. So like on these end decals, like these bits that I float on top of the pure geometry. And the rest of the geometry uses a simplified shader. Where, yeah, it makes it a little bit more performant. Like if you go into like the shader complexity, you can actually see, well, right now the base shader is actually more expensive than the opacity shader. That's because I'm pulling in from the real-time virtual textures from the landscape beneath it. If I were to disable that, then we're going to see that they're going to be quite close. But yeah, it also offers me some flexibility where I can tweak the decals separately from all the rest. So I could say, hey, look, these decals are a little bit too bright. Let me make them a little bit darker, right? It gives me flexibility with all that stuff now, which is also good. So yeah, done that. And then yeah, just basically a whole bunch of polishing. I think you mean good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. Yeah, we're international. Just good day. You know, simplify it a little bit. I just noticed that the chat is just on top of like all the detail panel. So where should we put it? Or to the left? Yeah, I guess we can make that work. Sorry for all the trial and error that we're going through today. Just want to get the chat on there. Pyramid likes the workflow of grouping assets within the scene. I usually do it in the outliner. Yeah, so you can do it with collections too, right? But I don't know. I like having everything visible all at once. And then I basically make my own like Trello board on my scene, right? Where it's like, oh, this is all block out stuff. This is all too polished, and then this is all finished, basically. Yeah. Trying something out. Oh, we added these new things. I made a quick block out for some of these wall sections that are modular as well. Just because I fancied doing something different. But what are we going to do today? So today we're actually going to be making some new levels. What I want to do is, because we got so many assets in like basically the done stage, that I want to start building new scenes with them. I'm contemplating if we make new separate levels or if we keep building in this one. But I think it might be good to maybe go to a new level entirely. Let's do that, shall we? Let's make a new level. We could be lazy and duplicate one as well. Presentation level 01. Yeah, so just gonna call it like a temporary name. I do know that, what was I gonna say? I do know that I want like specific examples of specific areas, right? So I want to give examples of the carpenter area. Want to give examples of like a blacksmith kind of area, and then maybe town sections. So we'll see if we continue to do that or if we change it up down the line. Pyramid Scheme is saying we should have a chat about Firefly AI halfway through the stream. Very interesting. Yeah, we definitely could. I haven't looked into it, honestly. I know the basic idea of it, right? Okay, so this is our new level. Let's do some housekeeping. Not gonna need all of that. Probably would have been quicker just to make a new scene, as I'm doing this at the moment. Oh, yeah. Let's not do that. RVT stuff. Oh, I deleted one of them. Okay, this is messy already. Screw it. I'm just gonna start a new level. Start from scratch. Don't save this. Don't save this one. But yeah, what about it would you love to discuss? Like the Firefly, well, the Adobe Firefly AI stuff. Catch me up, will you? Because I've got no idea. Like basically the principle that I know about it is that they use Adobe stock, and they also use other assets that are made by artists, right? So it kind of avoids like the whole ethical issue that a lot of the other databases are running into at the moment. Hmm. Nah. I'm not gonna start from a level, like a new level. Sorry, it's all over the place this morning. We run... So basically everything. Oh, this is broken now, is it? Virtual height field mesh. Is it really ethical? Apparently Adobe owns all the rights to anything on Adobe stock, so will the creators be reimbursed? Well, that's the question, right? That's a very good question. I think ethical in this sense has to do with the people knowingly or like being informed of what's happening, right? And they were pretty transparent with all that stuff in the beginning, like even before they publicly released it. So I think it's ethical in that sense. However, to your point, whether it's going to be fair to the artists that are going to be creating for it, that's a different question entirely. Because I think a lot of companies are kind of looking at this with the intent of you know what? Let's discuss it in the middle. It's actually a good topic to bring up then. Thanks, Pyramid. Let's discuss it in the middle of the thingy, shall we? Oh my god, what's happening here? Okay, so we have a clean landscape. Well, we have a base landscape. That's what I wanted. Yeah, how is everyone else doing in the chat? What is everyone else working on? Fill me in what happened with your week. While I just remove like all these splines. One has to... Want to join them? I want to delete them. Oh, it does this weird thing where it will not delete like the points. Actually, join them. Why is this so messy? Why is this all over the place? What? Now there's just like a bunch of random control points like on the landscape. Ugh. This is gross. Why doesn't it delete the points? Okay, so we're just gonna pick the center of the map. I'm just gonna freaking sculpt it completely flat again. Flatten target is 100. Let's just squish everything. Then I probably don't need that many points because what I want to do is I want to create a couple of example scenes, but they're going to be like isolated little dioramas in this case, especially for like the carpenter areas. So it'd be cool if we can make something interesting out of it. What I'll need to have a look at is the base landscape first. Do some proper sculpting there, and then we'll see how we get on. But we don't need this much landscape anyway. Probably just gonna get rid of like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I think something like this is good enough. What is that? That's my post-process volume. Let's put that at 000. Let's take this blueprint for my lights. Put that at 000. Let's put that in lighting as well. Right, so we have the virtual height mesh. We got all that stuff going on. We set the bounds for all the RVT stuff. Cool, so this is 000, so we're gonna be working around this little area then. You've been trying out Blender Octane. It looks good and it's free. Also saw there is a free version for Unreal. Have you tried it? No, because Octane is not really used in like games. It's more for non-real-time stuff, right? If you want to do motion graphics or reviz or whatever, then it could be very interesting. I think the interesting thing about Octane, I actually don't know if Octane does this, but there's other render engines, I can't think of the name now, but that are physically correct. So in games we work with PBR, which is physically based rendering. So it's not physically correct because we have to do like a bunch of shortcuts, because otherwise it would be too intense. And I think Octane actually does it physically correct. Not sure, but I think so. Or it might be another engine that does it. I don't know. I haven't tried it. How was it for you? I tried it. Well, I tried it a little bit in. Oh no, I didn't. That's Cycles. Sorry, I confused Blender Cycles with Octane for a second. That's the thing that I did try, but my main render engine has always been Unreal. Okay, let's start building some stuff, shall we? So this is the building that I already have on the other one. I'm gonna start with something. Wait, let's start with a small one. I wanna make like a small carpenter, like workshop kind of thing. So what do we need? We have a little worker's hut. Like a bunch of carpenter stuff in here. So let's pick that small one. Just gonna drag some stuff in that I'm probably gonna be using. So this site is purely gonna be for logging and then converting it to beams. Not doing any of like the manufacturing on top of it. Oh yeah, for people that are new to the stream, feel free to pop into the chat, ask any questions should you want to. If there's anything that you don't understand that I'm doing, I would love to explain it as well, or just to help you along your journey as an environment artist yourself. Oh, we got this little workbench here. Hey, Sarah Papa! Hope you're doing good today. Was eagerly waiting for the stream to help me chill and work on stuff. Oh, that's awesome. Also, forgot to say hi to Gabis almost 20 minutes ago. So sorry about that. Let's have a look. Still have like all the foliage? No, I don't. That sucks. I was kind of hoping to preserve that. But apparently it doesn't. Oh. What, I lost my trees. So we have the big boys. So let's figure out the density first. Oh my god, this is already like way too dense. Yeah, that's way too dense. This is gonna be... No, I made it denser. Oh, the radius? Let's play around with that. Much. But yeah, I'm doing good, Sarah Papa. How are you doing? Let's go like really wide, like 1,000. Yeah, okay. What I'm currently doing is I'm just looking at like the density of the trees and trying to get that right. I think 1,000 can work. Like maybe even a bit more. I don't know. Let's say 1,200. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the big ones, we got those figured out. Let's add in small ones. Let's do those next. What did we... Like 1,200 for these guys. Ooh. Be quite nice in terms of density. Oh, I still want to play around with like all the new stuff that they added, like the procedural content. Should really do that. Don't want to upgrade though, that's the issue. Oh, we kind of forgot to do like a little bit of randomization. So let's say 2.75 and like 1.3. So that we're getting like a little bit of randomization. That's pretty good. Sebastian Oppenheimer, hey, how's it going? Would it not be better to create a foliage instance for these? A foliage instance? Is that different than what we're using here? Or are you talking about like the procedural stuff? Like the procedural, what was it? Procedural foliage volume, I think? Unless I'm totally missing out on something. could be the case too. So we got these. And let's do the same thing for these saplings as well. Oh, to deactivate it. Oh, it just reorganized them. Oh my god. Saplings. They are used for that, but no, I recently found out about it at work. Sebastian Oppen. You're throwing out some good stuff, making me question. I'm gonna look it up. A real foliage instance. It's similar to how master materials and instancing work. Wait, so I think I've done that before because you need to do that for the procedural volume. But I think you create like static mesh foliage. Let's see if we can figure this out. So, oh, I see. Wait, and then I assume that you can use that in there. Oh, and then so you basically. Oh, I see. Wait, so how does this work then? Let's give it a try. Cheaper than using a ton of static meshes. I always assumed that it did like the instancing for you, right? When you scattered it. So it's interesting. So I always assumed that it did the instancing, but the adjustability on the fly that you get with those things is pretty neat though. So let me give it a try. Let's do a simple example. There's so many. So let me get rid of all this stuff first. Let's disable all the rest of it. And then right, that is what you have. The card. Good luck with compiling. Wait, and then let's just do a random pitch, I guess. Doesn't do this though, right? Doing something completely wrong because it's still referring to this mesh over here. Wait, am I just adjusting the wrong one? No. So can you use this kind of system inside of the foliage tool then, Sebastian? I'm gonna do some looking up as well at the same time. What was it called? What was the actual name of it? Static mesh foliage. No, you have to repaint. I think it doesn't update unless you delete. Oh. Allows you to quickly paint sets of static meshes and active foliage. What's the difference then? Yeah, so what if we create one of these? I'll need to look into this. Okay, now that we're switching it up anyway, let's not use the foliage tool anymore. I'm gonna remove all of them. We're gonna see if we can work with the procedural volume instead. Foliage, blah 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 blah. Here's foliage. Hey Jay, how's it going? Sebastian, can you potentially link something? I don't know if you can actually link something in the chat. Let's have a quick look. Oh, you haven't used it in UE5. Maybe that's why? I don't know. Using UE4. Yeah, it's interesting because in here they do use static meshes, right? Because that's just a normal mesh. Static mesh foliage. Yeah. Oh, well, they... Static mesh foliage. Oh, yeah, but I'm not using nanite, so could actually help us out here. Makes me want... I'm gonna do some more testing here. We enable this one. Yeah, so those are little rocks. Right, let's make them really visible because I already scattered like a bunch of stuff on top of the landscape anyway. So what we're gonna do, painting, set this to 2, right? Oh yeah, the new stuff in Unreal Engine 5.2 definitely, yeah, that's like full procedural, right? And like it's linked to the landscape and all that stuff. That's why I want to give it a try. But if you're using it on Unreal Engine 4, then there must be a way that is still supported here, right? It's just, I might just be setting it up wrong, honestly. Because it still points to this mesh. Let me get rid of these two. What's the thingy called? Oh, Sebastian, yeah, thank you so much, man. Or if you could send a link or something that I can check out. You don't have to, like, go to the trouble. Because in here, so yeah, we can change like all this stuff in here, right? So let's say like the minimal offset is gonna be 50. So well, let's say 100. Make it really visible. But then I would assume that it would either live update or yeah, see, because if we paint, then it's fine. But reapplying doesn't do anything. I just wonder. Yeah, because if we paint new stuff, then that works, right? It's like that stuff is all floating. That makes sense. But it's only on the stuff that already has been painted before that it doesn't update. Yeah, so it updates in here as well. Wait, so let's see. So if I set this to 200, yeah, it updates in here as well. It just doesn't update like all the previously painted instances. So if there is a way to just refresh that. Yeah, like reapplying it doesn't do anything. Unless, yeah, I see. So it does have the stuff in there. I see. Curious. I'm curious what the actual benefits are in terms of like performance. Because it makes sense, right? Like if you the instant stuff, yeah, it's gonna optimize it because it can batch it together. Doing some weird stuff now. Let's just remove this. But if you can set up a blueprint with this so it updates. Yeah, okay. Well, this is interesting. I'll need to look into this further then to see what the actual benefits are when it comes to performance, because that might be good to look into. But let's actually set up the procedural stuff. Or I don't know. Should we do the procedural stuff? Kind of debating it. Let's see, blocking volumes. Okay, so you can have blocking volumes as well. Okay, so we're probably gonna have to use a combination of the two. But at least the procedural stuff gets saved between levels then. So let's set that up. Just gonna follow this little tutorial here. I'm gonna share the link in the chat as well so that everyone can have a follow along if they wanted to. Well, it only has to load the mesh once and it compiles each shader once and then it gets instance rather than doing each one. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I question because if you use the foliage painter tool, it will do that stuff in the background as well, right? Because else, what's the point? I thought that was like the whole reason why they had a system like that, where it does that stuff for you, makes it easy. That was my assumption, right? I might be wrong on that, but because yeah, if that's not the case, then yeah, of course it's gonna make like a huge difference. Thank you for sharing that, Sebastian. Appreciate that. Blah blah blah. We need to do here. Procedural foliage spawner. Let's do that. So, nature. Oh, did I disable it? It's not in here. I need to go to the actual engine settings, I think. Oh, it's still experimental. Okay. I'm not gonna do it then. If it's still experimental, I don't want to release it for a pack. So... yeah, okay. We're just gonna go old school on this. I'm just gonna revert back to what we already did before. Because the thing that I have to keep in mind, the reason why I don't want to go with experimental stuff too much is because I'm not only making a portfolio piece, right? I'm also making a pack that will sell. Well, that I'm gonna sell, rather. So I need to be careful with that stuff. That I don't like chuck too much experimental stuff on it because it might break for other people or become really unstable. I'll do it like the old school way for now. And then if I need to switch it up, I'll do that after the stream. Hey Luke Skywalker, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing? Just painting little bits of foliage. We should honestly probably start with a little bit of landscaping. Oh. You can tell that my mind is all over the place today. So I'm gonna plop some trees down. I'm gonna make sure that we have like a little bit of variation. So we're getting a little bit of variation. Let's add the other trees in as well. Just gonna chuck them all in really quick so that we have something to paint once we got it all set up. Ooh. Nope, still too much. 10. 5. You should optimize your assets for games and sell them on the store. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Exactly what I'm gonna do, Pyramid. What's on the plan today? That's a good one. I wanna create some example scenes. So it gives me for 2 reasons. So I need to have them for the presentation at the end anyway. And also it gives me the opportunity to test the assets and like test how quickly I can create a new scene myself as well. So that's what we're gonna be focusing on today. So hopefully I got at least like 1 new scene out of it today. What I'm kind of hoping for. But we'll see how far we get. Let's give it a little bit distance between. Those are the big trees. Let's do the saplings next. Get them all in there. Sapling. Oh, why are they in there twice? 1, 2, 3. What? How many do I have? Oh, because I dragged them in twice. What's happening here? Oh, we got small saplings as well. Okay. Didn't even realize that I added those. Too much stuff in here. Too much stuff. So we got these saplings. Let's do 4. Let's do a radius of 100. Yeah. And then we can add the small ones and maybe scatter them a little bit more because they're going to be smaller. Let's add 10. 100? No. Oh, this is both of them though. Label all of this. Oh, they're really tiny. I mean, called them small for a reason, right? So we're probably gonna increase. What's UEFN? So that's a new thing that Epic Games is coming out with. It's Unreal Engine for Fortnite. So there's actually like a new standalone, well, kind of like a new editor that people in Fortnite can use to build their own stuff with it. So it's basically going, yeah, it's basically like a modding engine, right? Like where people that don't need like all the options in the engine, it's going to be like a very optimized like version of it for people that just want to play around with it. I just realized that now my chat is on top of the foliage tool. This is great. Right, so we have these small ones. What if I just enable everything? Let's go. Do it. Okay. It's a bit dense. Actually, don't mind it for like the rest of the scene, and then we're probably gonna switch it up once you get closer to the scene. Right, so like the scene itself is gonna be encircled with like this kind of stuff. And then once we start painting... Okay, let's move that little chat box out of the way, shall we? Unreal Engine for Fortnite is the first step to the metaverse. I actually think that it's already quote-unquote the metaverse, because to a lot of people's definition, like the metaverse seems to just be the connective tissue between like a lot of other like levels, right? Like that's how people imagine it. Like if you go into the game and it has like all the experiences that you want out of it, that's already kind of what's happening anyway, right? Like that's at least my definition of the metaverse. And that's also the issue with talking about the metaverse by itself, right? Like no one knows what the hell they're on about. Plus, if you actually look at the people, or like the companies that were building metaverse games, they're dropping it because AI is like a way better deal. So, yeah, it's very interesting to see companies being like, metaverse is kind of done. We're just gonna jump on the AI bandwagon now. Failed to save bulk data. Oh no. Well, worry about that later. Yes, let's paint some forest floor. Hi Damian, how's it going? So let's just cake this in a little bit. I'm just gonna be really quick with all this stuff though. Oh, don't want to do too much mud. I think the mud we're gonna keep for like the areas where they walk around the most. Plus, we still need to do a pass on... Just realized that the lighting looks pretty bad. We still need to do a pass on the landscape itself. Right? So, I'm gonna do that first. Kind of wonder. I'm looking at like images for like bits of the forest, right? Like what kind of section we want to go for. I want to have it like slightly hilly, but I don't want to overdo it either. Maybe that could actually be the next one where we import a height map to use as like a base for it, you know? Interesting one. Because it's been ages since I did that myself. Yeah, this blueprint is freaking broken. I wonder... I'm currently thinking if I can move a blueprint between levels. I wonder if I can just duplicate it. Because then I'm gonna quickly go on to my main level and just duplicate it over. I think those companies realized that the tech for the metaverse was behind the tech for AI and they pivoted for a money grab. Well, I think what that really shows is that they didn't believe in the long-term vision of the metaverse and that it was going to be too costly for them, right? Like to me, it blatantly shows that they don't really care about the thing in the long term, but that they're just looking at it as like, hey, make some money. The man is playtesting on the job right now? That's awesome. Let's see. Can we copy... It's this one, right? Paste it in here. Oh, that works. Okay, let's get rid of that. That. Do it? It's still broken though. Why is it broken? Wait, this is morning. What have we set it to? Evening. Why is it broken? That's an issue just by itself. Hey? Dimitrios! Hello, great stuff. Thanks for sharing. No worries. Thank you for being here as well. The red looks like a Japanese samurai movie. Yeah, it does, right? It has like a very intense feeling to it. I don't know why it's broken though. I'm trying to think. So it's probably... Oh, well, okay. That's probably why. Here we go! First crash of the day. Anything in post that got changed by some reason? I don't think so. Because the post-processing volume was still the same. And... Oh. You actually make a very interesting point. I just realized something. Let's open the scene back up, please. Yeah, I just realized. Thank you for pointing that out. I have a post-process volume inside of my scene, but I also have one in that blueprint as well. So maybe Maybe that's where the issue is. Well, this one is still active too. Huh. Yeah, that just literally kills everything. Oh, you know what it is? It's a stupid checkbox. I'll show you. The reason why this looks like way flatter is because it's not keeping the shadows in mind. There's this stupid little checkbox in the foliage painting tool. Or at least it might be. Let's see if I'm wrong. Where is it? Instant settings, affect distant field lighting. There we go. Yeah, I just need to do that on everything. I think we should be good. Oh, maybe not on the small ones though. So there we go. Well, it looks way better. Shadows are pretty dark. And I think now you might be right about the post-processing volume. So we're getting some shadows in there now. 90% of 3D is troubleshooting. This is the way. It is. It is. As painful as that is. So now, midday indirect lighting intensity. Yeah, so if we boost that up, then if we look around to like kind of force refresh. Oh my god, it has my old camera. What are you doing here? Oh no, that's the blueprint. Never mind. Let's put that to this location. Oop. Okay, cool. So sun rotation there. Nope, definitely don't want to do that. Makes me wonder. Oh, do it again. So used to pressing those hotkeys. Let's do this. Right, so this is already looking a bit better. Like the shadows are pretty dark in certain areas, but I actually don't mind it that much for now. Like it gets pretty dark over here, for example, right? But we can fix that with post. First, let's see if we can actually do some work on the terrain. Don't want to do any like river thing, so we want to do maybe like a slope of some kind. Or I could just do maybe not. Please, noise. Oh. Okay. Yeah, the noise definitely did work. Okay. Do that much? Why is it so strong? Well, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking about the landscape first, right? do have a well asset though. We could definitely drop that in there. Why are you so strong? What? Oh. Oh, and now it's fixed? Okay. So weird. Okay, so let's see. Oh my god. Let's just ignore that. What? Why is it fine over here but not over there? What's happening? What? Oh man. Okay, so flatten everything out. Why is that such an issue over there though? What an abomination. Yeah, thanks. Totally is. Wait, let's just do like a normal sculpt. Yeah. That's what you would expect. That's fine. Then we go to noise. Oh, one click. Oh, it's fine now? No clue what's happening. Okay. Okay, I guess we're good. Oh my god. I just want some variation to terrain that can give me something to play with, you know? So that it's not like completely flat all over the place. What I'm just looking for. Flat terrain is boring. Right, so we're getting something like that. Not too much. And yeah, let's chuck some more stuff in, shall we? A path or two would be good. That's a great suggestion. Let me chuck in a well so that we can use that later. It's a very sophisticated well, though. Maybe we'll need to do like a basic model of it, right? Because this almost feels like it's like on the outskirts of town or something. Maybe we'll do like a very quick one. And then you're absolutely right. Let's carve some pathing. But this is a small one, right? So what I'm imagining is that there's 1 or 2 people working here. Like, it's a startup business, right? That's what they're doing here. So I think just a one path in could be very interesting. And then hopefully what we can do is have like a very interesting, like kind of curvy path that's like very natural. And then just like hide it in like thick foliage. That would be interesting. I'm gonna carve something out. I'm gonna remove some of the foliage as well. 200. Just carve some of this stuff out following the path, and then we can fill it back in later. But it's just to give me like a reference. So yeah, even this thickness is kind of too thick. Right? Like, make this way more subtle as well. Hey, Matt! How's it going, buddy? Carve it up. Like, what I want is like a path that almost disappears at some points, right? Where it's kind of hard to see. Kind of create these like little curvy sections around like trees, like in a very natural way. And that's where we'll probably put like some trees of our own, right? Like just static assets to just spice it up a little bit. So let me mark some stuff down already. So let's say, because this is a nice little location, you know, just to chuck a tree down. I like that. That means that they're not going to cut this poor tree down. It's too young. They're not going to get too much wood from it. So they'll just walk around it. Kind of do. Here. Quick little tip. If you wanna erase stuff, like you can press shift. Right? And that brings back like the previous terrain. So you can kind of like quickly paint between the two. And then chop tree stumps that show they took resources from the area. Very cozy. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. I got some of them lying around, but they need to be polished though. Let me bring those up, right? Where they're gonna be? 3. Because we got like log piles. You know, I'm just gonna chuck like a couple of in, and we'll see which one we're gonna use. We have like a tree that's gonna get converted to a beam. Then we have one that's like just chopped down. Right? It still has like the ends on it. And where's my tree stump? Where is it? Some branches. We got roots. Did I name it something stupid? That's why I can't find it. Could well be the case. Foliage? No. Well, it's a good indication why it's important to name your assets. Baskets, blah 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Got some cut wood piles here as well. I'm gonna chuck all that stuff in. And we'll place it around. Cut wood. Oh, here they are. Wooden blocks. Oh my. Serious with his naming convention. Oh, I think I know why I named them wooden blocks. Because that's what they also use to do carpentry on. Right? They have like a really thick one. And then they use that as like a pedestal to chop like smaller ones on. So I think these are technically not stumps. But I've been kind of using them as stumps. So you know what? Let's do a quick block out. I think I even have... Let me go to my tree file. Thank you so much for putting out these in the chat. That's awesome. I'm gonna create a little chopped tree stump. get that in there as a block out real quick. Yeah, look at this. I mean, I got it lying around anyway. Might as well make use of it. Oh, does this still have all the stuff on it? Yeah. Oh, I see. It's not where I wanted it to. I've been using this really cool like modifier stack to make the stone walls. I'll show it to you in a bit. But let's get this in first. So oak tree. Stump 01. We're gonna create like a couple of variations when we have time as well. This is gonna be our little backup because I'm using it for the roots as well. Just get rid of this. Little stumpy boy. Let's go. Let's get that in. Has the weirdest kind of textures. Let's see if we can quickly fix that for now. This is not UV editing, this is image. It is. What? Did I just crash it? Thank you so much, Darius, for subscribing. Appreciate that a lot. Is it really gonna struggle with an unwrap? What am I doing with it? Oh yeah, these textures are perfect. Perfect. Okay, we're just gonna get that in like this. I don't even mind. Nature. Trees. Let's add it in here, shall we? Where did I export it to though? Biome temperate. So asset library, natural, biome temperate. Let's go. Let's get in there. Incorrect shading. Yeah, like I didn't know that. Oh, look at that. What? Oh, this has POM on it or something, right? Yeah. This has POM on it. That's why it's looking so weird. Oh my. This is awesome though. We got like a very reflective little tree over here. Little tree stump. I am gonna be lazy though, and I'm gonna put that in the foliage tool as well. Chuck that in there. Disable all the rest. And then what we can do is we can paint it like this, right? But we don't want to do that. We could also just go in single mode and say, again, give it a slight bit of variation. Maybe go a little bit bigger on this one. And then we can kind of just populate some stuff around, right? Don't want this one. Yeah, that's looking good. And then we'll obviously need to massage this into the terrain a little bit and do some tweaks to it as well. Where escape paint. This is mud. Don't want mud. Be dirt. So now we're kind of getting rid of like some of the forest floor. Like I'm doing big splashes right now, but we can go into more detail later. I want to create like some quick variation. Cool. That's a great idea. Thank you so much. We got some really funky looking reason there. Love it. Okay, so let's continue on our path, right? So we've got stuff over here. No. Wow. It's frosty over here. Right. Just gonna continue to massage this, right? Like people coming in. This is gonna be an island with like a little tree on it again. A different one this time. Okay. Why are you floating, my dude? Oh, I think it's... Does it react to all the other folder stuff? Oh, it's just... Whoa, it's just doing some weird stuff. Probably because I'm still in the foliage tool or something. So we got this big tree. Oh, you know what we could do? I do want to have it like very thickly forested though, so I don't know if this is going to work, but let's give it a try. In our landscape tool, the grass. Maybe little chunks of grass in here occasionally. I wanted to obscure the terrain though. One thing I like about Unreal Engine is building environments feels way more artistic than any other 3D program. Oh yeah, that's because it's built for it, right? So good at it. I mean, we're basically just Bob Rossing 3D environments, right? That's what's happening right now. Just painting happy little grass patches. It is very noisy though. Like, I think I like this kind of area where like you can definitely see like more of the dirt. And maybe what we could even do is go in. Maybe shut up a little bit. Right? And then make it real nice. Go to landscape again. Paint. Or like sculpt rather. And then we're gonna do some smaller alterations to the height of this. Okay, so that you get this little island. And then the trail that is kind of running beneath it. So we're basically like over time, as you tread down a path, you're gonna see that it's gonna sink the landscape a little bit. Plus, it's also like very interesting for like player leading, right? Like it gives more contrast to the surrounding area. We can even do like the opposite too, right? Carve out some of this stuff. Maybe that's an even better idea. Just painting happy little landscape paths. And push this one up again. Ooh, so good. I love this stuff. It's been a while since I did some of this stuff actually. We'll have to be careful with all the stuff that's been scattered on the landscape though. Like that's where harsh transitions like are the death of some of this stuff, right? So we'll probably have to smooth it out a little bit. It's just fun. Play around with this. Got a lot of small saplings though. 6k. Bit too many. Where's the small trees? These are the small ones, right? Could technically do. Should we paint or put them in separately? Because I kind of want it to feel like really dense, you know, where you're going into this place. It's kind of a little bit secluded. Oh, that just just made me realize something though. How are they getting stuff out of this town? I think that's where I think Pyramid brought it up, right? Like a path or two would be good. Maybe this is the quickest trail to get into it. But once they want to get stuff out, they have like another trail that is more suitable for like carts and carriages. Right, so this is like the quick route into it. The leaves look a little bit like mushrooms. I think that's probably the color, right? And like the shadowing, it almost looks like they're like yeah, they're just casting too much shadow. Little mushrooms. Don't mind the idea of that actually, doing mushrooms. For the scene. Just making sure people don't get any weird ideas. Okay, and then this place opens up a little bit. And then maybe... yeah, let's carve another path. So this is the one that goes into town. Oh my god. I feel like a bunch of stuff floating in the air. And then we got another path. Maybe that way? Right, because we have like this kind of hilly terrain. Or maybe we take like in between these two hills. Like, could be interesting. Because I'm looking at the already existing terrain that we got from the noise that we applied to it. And then I'm looking if there's like opportunities in it. Like happy little accidents, right? Where it's like, oh, where these like two mounds like kind of come together, it would be nice to maybe have like a path carving into the two. Would be cool. I'm gonna quickly draw something, right? And then this opens up as you get in. Oh, the density of some of this stuff feels really good though. Absolutely horrific for gameplay purposes, but for purely artistic purposes, it does the job. So let's actually hide all of this for a second. And then... can we actually remove stuff when it's invisible? Never tried this. Oh yeah, you can. That's cool. Oh, it didn't do it. We didn't do it on everything. Yeah, this needs to be wider though for like, oh, carriage to be put in. Right, and then we'll do some massaging with the landscape. This is going a bit too straight though. I think we're probably gonna make it curve over here. The reason why I want to do that is because let's say we have a camera angle that looks down this way. You don't want people to just stare off into the distance like endlessly. Right? So we're going to add a little bit of a curve here, and that will stop people, or like stop anyone from kind of viewing into the distance. And then we can kind of block it off with like foliage. It's going to help us. I don't want to paint anything yet. No! Just the one note. This single. Then let's see. Let's actually grab some scale reference. So, grab one of our cards. I think this is a good one. How did you make the fence near the workshop? I'll show you in a bit. It's a very good question. So this is how broad that a carriage is. Like a cart. I think that will actually do the job, you know? What I will do is I'm just gonna slap like a couple of these down. Yeah, okay. But then we know that kind of like the size of that is pretty good at the moment. Just need to do like a detail pass on it. Wall needed workshop, this one, that's all geometry. This one. Where I do have certain areas where you have like larger surfaces where you can't see the edges of it. That's where I go into like a texture. So I'll show you one of the buildings. Yeah, this building. This building has that motif, but it's just, this is just a texture. Right? This is not geometry. And technically what you could do is have the core as a texture and then the outside perimeter as like sticks, right? But I wanted to go for a little bit more high detail on this. Okay, so we got our entrance for pedestrians coming in, and then we got our exit point where people are just gonna cart stuff out. I think that's looking pretty nice. We're gonna add some other stuff where people can potentially sleep. What's the difference? Oh, this is a small one, right? Nice, thank you. No worries. Feel free to ask any more questions if you have them, right? As they come up. Still need some work, but serves the purpose for now. So, put this little house here. You come in, like they can get to their house if they wanted to. Well, Yeah, I was just thinking, like, do they come from like the nearest town and then go into work here? They probably wouldn't, right? They probably would try to save as much time as they can and like sleep on location for most of the time. Would they? It depends on how far this is from the city. Like, maybe let's keep the house here for now. Let's keep the house there for now, and then we'll see what we're gonna do with it. Because there's multiple ways, right? Like we could do the house setup, which seems to be like more permanent, or we could also do like tents, where it's more like a local logging camp. But then, to me, this little workshop doesn't make sense anymore. if they're just gonna be sitting around in tents. Yeah, so we'll have to think about the logic of that. Because now these two in conjunction, they work together, because if they're gonna go through the trouble of making a workshop that kind of looks like this, then they're probably gonna go through the trouble of making a house as well, right? And they're gonna just stay around for like a long time. But yeah. Stuff you have to think about. Probably could that. They have like a bunch of logs just chilling out here. Oh, the terrain is a bit funky over here. Sarah Papa, what made you want to make a medieval town? Do you have a particular reference for this project? Oh god. What made me do it? It's a very good question. So, I think where it all started is I wanted to do something small. Yep. I know, I wanted to do something small, and then it kind of just grew out of proportion because I loved what it was becoming. So I'll show you where it kind of all began. Right, we're going back on a trip. Unreal Engine 4.26. This is the first screenshot that I made for this project. Right, so this was a concept that I was using. So this was a concept that I was building from, and I was basically like, I'm just gonna make it as one unique thing. I'm gonna put like a bunch of time into it as like a unique thing. And then I was like, but I wanna break it up into like modular pieces, right? So that I can potentially build some other stuff with it too. So that's what I started doing. At this point, I was like, cool, I'll split it up, do a test, like, oh, this is starting to get together really well. And then I was like, oh, it's actually kind of nice, you know? I could potentially do like a medieval city like this. And then it just kept on growing, And I made the big city that's still in my old scene, partially. And then, yeah, just started doing testing of shaders, testing of materials, comparisons, and just kept on growing from there. That's the thing, yeah, what I love about this project is that there's so much to find out when it comes to the history of things as well. I go on like hours and hours of like reference hunting and like trying to get as close to the reference material as I can, and like really figure out what the techniques were that were used back in the day. I love that stuff. So yeah, just over time, it just grew and grew, got bigger, and it was just like, yeah, kept on iterating on it. Let's actually have a look. So, where do we end on this one? Yeah, and then this is probably like the starting of the scene. Where is it? Yeah, I guess so. This is when I started to work on the scene that I've been spending the most time on. Right, I wanted to make something in the middle of the forest rather than the city itself. And then I made like the pottery shop and like a paint shop, and I think you can see that here, right? Like all the assets that I made for like the paint shop. I still got all of them. I've just been focusing on like the carpenter area for so long. yeah, I don't know. Like it's very in the moment, like, oh, I feel like I want to do this, and then I'll just do it within the frame of the medieval project, right? Because the thing is also, I've been working on this for 2 years, right? So I'm not gonna drop it because that would be a huge waste of time. So I know that there's like that pressure to get it done. Um, but honestly, I still have fun with it, you know? Like whenever I'm working on it, like there's so many things that I still want to do that, yeah, I don't know. Just have fun with it. But yeah, the particular reference started from that one little house that I showed in the beginning. Like that was the thing that started it all, basically. And then it just went bigger and bigger. As you can see here. Like we got like the little testing area for like, oh, I could split this up into modular pieces. And then yeah. Just grew over time. Until I had like a full market square with like, I don't know, like a bunch of painterly stuff set up, and then I was also working on like the town entrance, and I made some herbs. Did some tidables for those. Yeah, you know, it's chaos, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So if you're asking, if people are wondering or thought that this was like the way to go, please don't. Don't be like me. Like especially if you want to get into the industry, right? Or if you're looking for a job, don't do this. Like this is just pure passion driven, like, hey, I like this, I'm gonna follow it. You know? Gonna make something small, also Tim 2 years later. It always starts as something small, doesn't it? Yeah. It always starts as something small, yeah. But I do have the benefit of um this is basically my job, right? Like this is it. Like I'm working, quote unquote, now. Like that's the awesome thing, right? Yeah. We do need to get this finished at a certain point though. I don't know what we're gonna do next, but I don't know. Would be nice to not have spent like, I don't know, like a decade on one project, you know? Where were we? Vivek was saying, I think you can shift the house 200, 300 meters apart from the workshop and connect it with a small faint road. I don't really want to do that. I like it being clustered together. Maybe we could do something like that where we put it over here or something, right? Like over here, so that you have like a little disconnected area, but it's still in like one shot. That could work. Yeah, I don't want to push it too far. I like it being like the same location. Right? Because that's what you see in games as well, right? Like once you go to like a place like this, it's usually like a dense cluster together. But maybe, yeah, maybe the house is a bit too close though. Let's see what you're saying. Let's see. What else do we need? Little shed, don't need that. So yeah, this is a log that's being converted. This is basically the end result, right? So I'm currently looking at like how are we going to structure this in like a logical way to make it easy for people to come into this location, pick stuff up on their carts, and then move away again. Right, because this is way too much wood. we can indicate that there's like some stuff falling over here. That's sort of great questions, Sarah Papa. I appreciate them. What would you say are your favorite scenes to work with? I kind of classify scenes categories like natural or sci-fi. Yeah. It honestly, I mean, it's a scene that you're looking at right now, right? Like, I love outdoor scenes and like, yeah, just thinking about it because before this I was working on like a sci-fi interior project. The only thing that kind of linked both of them was the natural aspect of it. Because it was gonna be like a sci-fi laboratory kind of situation, but it had all to do with the propagation and it all had to do with the propagation and preservation of trees. So I guess that's like the link between them. Let's see, firewood, that's probably gonna be with the house, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't think I would mind doing either or as long as there's a level of believability in them. Right? Like that's the maybe it sounds like a cop-out excuse or like a cop-out answer, but like I love stuff that is grounded in reality, right? Because even that sci-fi stuff was still gonna be like really grounded in reality. I think that's, as like a broader sense, that's what I lean towards. Right, this is more set in like historical reality. Like very, very heavily like taking inspiration from that. Whereas the sci-fi scene was based on like more like realistic designs. Like basically near future technology. But still grounded in like reality, because a lot of it was based on hydroponics and vertical farming and all that kind of stuff. Just leaning way more into like the bioengineering side of things. So you see, like I'm working on like this medieval scene that is just like from like 1200, 1300, right? But then previously, before this, I was working on a scene that could technically be like 2100. Right, so in that sense, I don't really have a preference as long as they're like grounded and like kind of linked to foliage, I guess. As much as I hate to admit it. Well, not foliage, like the natural aspects. I would say that. Oh my god, this became a horror scene all of a sudden. Is medieval something you lean naturally towards, or was that just really the spur of the moment kind of thing, or having a special inclination? So I do really like historical stuff, and whenever we go on vacation, I love to go to castles and like visit medieval stuff. So there must be like a grounded reality somewhere there. You know what I mean? Like I must be pulling from like all the stuff that I've seen from like all the castles that I've visited in like multiple countries. Because I do pull a lot from that. Like for inspiration wise. Yeah. Because I know what you're trying to get with that question, right? Like it's just general interest, but also like, hey, how can this kind of structure help other people? Well, that's what I'm thinking anyway. Like, how can this kind of structure or my thought process help you like focus on the scenes that you want to do? And like honestly, a lot of it just has to do with, especially in the beginning, like following your passion, right? Like stuff that you like to do, like. The hydroponic thing probably has like a clearer link to my personal life, because I was doing hydroponics. Like I had a little setup in like a little area in the kitchen before that I made myself, So I kind of had that thing where I was like, oh, this is super interesting. I wonder if I can make something like that, but in 3D and like go a little bit more crazy and like a little bit more broad on it. But yeah, maybe the link with the medieval stuff is just that I visited a lot of medieval places. But I never thought about it that way. Because when I say I visited a lot of medieval places, I've been doing that for like 10 years already, right? Like maybe more. So I don't know when the moment was of like, oh, I need to do something around this now, right? I hope that little ramble, that you got something out of it. I sometimes wish that there was like a clear answer to this, but for me, like it's all chaos, you know? Like it's very chaotic. Like the way that I handle my scenes, and I know that I want to make cool worlds. You know, and then I kind of look at what I like personally, and then I try to build something around that. And that's also the advice that I give, right? But it's also pretty broad advice when it comes to it. Let's get a bucket on there. Yeah, thank you so much for the thought-provoking questions, Sarah Papa. I appreciate them. Probably gonna think about that a little bit after the stream as well. So we got a little well area. We got the campfire here. Got a wooden bench. Got some stools as well. I'm basically just trying to fill up the area and like get an indication of life going at this point. Like structure. Oh, can I paint dirt, please? What's happening here? Was that a different dirt? What? No, it wasn't. Very good questions. Oh, I'm flattening. That's why. Oh my god. Yeah, this is better. I think beginners tend to overthink their work, so it's nice to hear your thought process and how you manage to just push through and make your vision a reality. Well, yeah, I think the main thing there is that I've been working on this for a long time, right? I do enjoy it, but that pressure also helps, at least for me. Right? I'm not recommending that you just pressure yourself into producing something. There obviously needs to be a balance there, right? But the balance, you get to decide for yourself what works the best for you. Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting question. Create some more variation here. Maybe too much grass is also not good. Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? I don't have the pressure of quote unquote beginner or people that are trying to get their first job anymore, because even if I were not to post this on my portfolio, I don't care at this point, right? Like it would be totally fine if I wouldn't post it. I don't have that pressure on that side anymore. Whereas beginners and people that are trying to get into the industry, they do, right? And that will affect your work, because then you're working towards something that you can publish, right? That's the whole, or in most cases, that's how people think. Not necessarily that everything you produce has to be on your portfolio, because there should be time for experimentation there as well, right? Let's say Let's say you want to work on foliage. You have no idea how it works. And you just do like a mini thing just to get used to foliage. That doesn't mean that you need to put it on your portfolio. You can just use it as a test and that's it. That would be totally fine too. Oh. A little bit of mud. Okay, a little mud here. I think the advice that I would give, right? Like my advice that I give to like people in that position where they're starting to think about stuff and they tend to overthink, is you need to kind of set yourself up for success when it comes to that sort of thinking, right? Because I think overthinking, there's nothing wrong with it. I think you're just overwhelmed by all the choices that you have. And the way that you can kind of use that to your advantage is just make like really small projects that focus on like the thing that you have an interest in. And if you do that for like a week or 2 weeks, that will probably give you like a better indication if this is really the thing for you, rather than doing like a project that's going to take you like a month or 2 months, and then maybe halfway through you're like, ugh, I'm so done with this, you know? So like smaller, yeah, you could even call it like what do they call it, like fail faster, you know, like just giving yourself the opportunity to fail more and fail more often, because that's going to give you like a lot of good advice, or like a good indication of what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. Give an example from me personally. Like I made a couple of guns, you know, when I was at uni. Like I think I made 2. I didn't like the process at all. Like the first time I didn't know if I liked it or not. I was also like a bit too inexperienced for making a gun at that point. But then the second time I made it, I was like, oh, I hate this. You know, I'm not made to spend like a ton of time on like a single asset and then go through like the whole process. Like it was, yeah, nothing for me personally, which is fine, right? That's what we're trying to figure out, is like, what do I want to do? And what is my career gonna look like? Also, in the meantime, this mud is looking pretty good. A transition between it. Happy with that. I like the way that it blends with the dirt as well. Looking good. We don't need mud underneath this. So I'm gonna paint some grass underneath it. I would actually love to hear some thoughts from all of you as well. Like, is there a thing that you do to stop yourself from overthinking when it comes to a project? But yeah, like what helps you when picking a project? How do you go about that process? The variation with all this grass coming in. This building is going to be here for a little bit, right? So we're probably going to have some grass popping up. Not everywhere, but like the places where they walk are going to be dirty, and then the rest of it can be grass. We need to, what do we, yeah, okay, so we can kind of, what I'm looking at right now is that we have this little stump in the middle, and that actually creates like a nice little roundabout, you know? So we're gonna emphasize that a little bit more. That people put their cart here, and then they go off again. Okay, so they load up like the little thingies over here. And they go off on their merry way. Wait, mud. And some more grass. Some of the grass here. Hello? Please select mud. Thank you. Oh, Gabbiz, that's a good one. For me to create an emotional meaning behind it, like a little story. Yeah, that's awesome. Like me personally, I love nature photography, so I'll focus on creating maybe a photo of the place I would like to travel to with my camera. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, I love that. And now that you say that, that's kind of what I do too. Right? I don't do it in like a photography kind of way, but I do it in like a role playing, like immersion kind of way. Where I'm like, this is the world that I'm building, right? So this medieval world I'm building right now, I do oftentimes like imagine myself like, what would it be like to live here? You know, just have that little fantasy going on of like, oh, what if I was like a medieval like carpenter, you know, like the early medieval carpenter, and then just go through like the whole process of it. And that also, like you said, helps to inform the story behind it too, right? And like gives that emotional attachment. So that's awesome. So much for sharing that as well. It's a great one. And KD is also saying, personally, if I catch myself overthinking, I think about the upcoming tasks. Then I ask if what I'm overthinking now will make me have to limit, cut, or hurt that task. I don't want my overthinking now negatively affecting future tasks that are important. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Like it's a more rational way, right? Yeah. I think what a lot of people do is, I mean, this is not specifically about your work, right? Like it's no longer just about like the work that you're putting out, but also who you are as a person. A lot of people do this exercise where they're like, who do you want to be in like 5 years? Right? And like, where do you want to be at that point in life? Because that gives you a goal and makes it easier to then also divide that goal up into tasks of actually what do I need to do to get to that goal in the end. Whereas if you don't do that, then you might get lost easier. Yeah, I can definitely see that working. Hi, Coffee Diction. How's it going? Yeah, that's a good one. So that goes up a little bit, and we're gonna do the same thing. Wait, we're not gonna do the same thing. We're gonna move this down a little bit. Like we did with the other paths as well. that we just overemphasize like the other aspects. Don't want to do it too much. Yeah, you're definitely right. That's a good way of overlooking. Thinking about it though. Oh yeah, we're doing this for 2 hours. Let's switch it up for a little bit. And let's talk about who brought it up again? I think it was Pyramid Scheme, right? Pyramid Scheme wanted to talk a little bit about Firefly AI. Yeah, let's do that. So switch it up. Go to the camera. Let's have a look in here. So yeah, we were talking about Firefly AI and like what they're doing with their AI stuff. Right? So basically from what I understand, right? From what I understand, they're also developing their own AI tool that's then also trained on what people submit to it or what is already available in the Adobe stock. And I think if I remember this correctly, what they also do, if they can trace your work back to it, you also get like a little bit of compensation for it. But I'm not sure. So let me just quickly check that out. So if everyone, we're gonna be talking about like the Adobe Firefly AI stuff. But if you have any questions about it or like any comments, feel free to add them to the chat, and then we can discuss it a little bit and how it might impact the future. So I'll try to do this like every stream, like just to switch it a little bit up. Well, we're gonna talk about something, right? It can be anything. And this time we're gonna be talking about this AI stuff, or like the Adobe AI stuff specifically. Morning, John. So let's go to the main screen. So yeah, go join the beta. Let's have a look. I'm mostly interested in the thingy here. So there is, oh yeah, that's right. They have credentials built in, right? So you can actually use what people are using. Copies of customer content will never blah blah. Yeah, but this is like the thing that we kind of stopped talking about, right? Because we kind of wanted to talk about the what was it again? Like the compensation side of things. And I was about to say that a lot of the talk surrounding this seems to be that people kind of want it to be like, or that people have this indication that it's going to be like the Spotify way of doing artistic, like the visual artistry, right? So where, I don't know, that's kind of the model that people are kind of thinking about, like, or really excited about for some reason. That if your work gets used in like one of these models, that you get like a little bit of a percentage of it. Don't like that at all, because if you look at like the content model and like the monetization model of Spotify and how much the artists are actually getting out of it, it's not a good deal, you know? Like, it's even pushing like the people that have like the most streams, like even, yeah, it's only favoring the people that are already like there, right? It's just not a good deal. So I don't want to see that happening to like artwork in general. I don't really want to go that route. But yeah, I think they are taking a good step though. Like and the previous thing that I said about like Spotify and like that whole model of like monetization, it's not guaranteed that they're gonna do that, right? Um, but that's just like as a general thing, that's what people are excited about for some reason. But I think Adobe actually is doing some good stuff here, where they only use stuff that is like open sourced, like freely available to the public, or comes from their own stock, like Adobe stock anyway, right? Which with the license agreements as well. It's bad for musicians who have labels and managers to protect them with a lot of lawyers, as artists are gonna have a real hard time. I don't think so, honestly. I know that there's. I know I've said in before as well that I was really skeptical and like quite scared about it, but the more that I start looking into it, I feel like it's gonna be just more like a tool, right? Because there's actually an interesting thing that just came out from like the US copyright service, let's call it that. I forgot the official name. But they basically said that they're not going to change their stance on it, and you still have to have like a human hand in the whole entire creation process, because if it's just purely AI generated, you can't get a copyright for it. Which basically means that it's worthless for companies because they can't copyright it and then also don't make money with it. Right? What that does mean, and this is based on a what's his name again? Wait, it got shared in our Discord as well. Let me have a quick look and share the video in the chat as well. Industry discussions. The Art of Soulburn. Yeah, there we go. Okay. This is actually an interesting watch if you're interested in like all the AI kind of conversations. Because they basically said that you can't get a copyright on like fully AI created work. What that might mean though, is that there's still going to be the opportunity for companies to say like, hey, we're going to use AI as a base, and then we're going to use, or like we're going to ask the artist to work from that base. Or the opposite way around, right? Where the artist creates a base and then the AI just creates like variations of it. Could also happen. Yeah, Pyramid Scheme, we're talking about Firefly and just AI in general again. I just brought up the video that I shared in the chat as well, where the copyright the US copyright service basically said that, hey, you can't there always needs to be like a human hand in the creation process, or else you can't get a copyright on it. So KD is also saying also can't use it to generate a texture that will ship within the game because of potential copyright problems. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there again, it's like if you generate a texture, you can't use it one-to-one in the program, or like in the game, right? In the well, not necessarily the game, like in your commercial product, right? So you can't use it one-to-one. What that might mean, and what you're already seeing, I think Material Art is actually a great example of this, so thank you so much, is where people have it generate like the base for it, and then they do further adjustments by making it tileable and then changing up like the shapes, and then they do like a whole bunch of stuff on top of it, right? Which to me, I mean, is always gonna happen, right? Because you have to look at progress as like we're optimizing time, right? So before, if you look at hand painted textures, all done by hand, all done in, let's say, a single layer, right? Which is basically super destructible. So if there's something wrong, you have to kind of manually paint it out and whatever. But now we have Photoshop, multiple layers. You can do like adjustments on the fly. You can generate like additional like variations of it. Like you got Substance where you can work with like linked layers and all that stuff. So it's basically making it like way easier than it was before. And that's the way that I look at AI too, right? I think this is also what I just shared in the chat, like the YouTube video, like kind of brings up that point, is that it might change a job so much that you won't like the job anymore. Right? Because let's say you're as like a concept artist, right? But this will happen to 3D as well, just in a different way. As a concept artist, you create your own ideas, and you do actually a lot of design thinking where stuff needs to make sense, it needs to be logical, it needs to make sense, right? But what if AI can do like a bunch of that stuff already and then get you to, like, I don't know, polish it up, or even worse, like make something that doesn't really make sense and then you just have to adjust it to have it make sense? Is that going to be fun for the concept artist? Maybe, maybe not, right? Maybe you're like, hey, look, that's where the fun for me was. It might not be fun anymore then for you. But that also brings up like a different layer to that conversation, to me at least, where it could also happen that different studios have their own way of implementing it, or like even different artists have their own way of thinking about it. Because I don't think that when I really think about the structure and like the creativity that goes into like creating a game, right? What usually doesn't happen is that the company sits down and says like, oh, this needs to be created in this way, right? This is the only way that we're gonna do it. Like, you can kind of have that with workflows in 3D, right? So where if it's like a cinematic prop, it's gonna be unique because that's how you get the most details in the asset, right? But what might happen is that, I think on the concept art side specifically, is that it will just more optimize for time. So if the person next to you is using AI and delivering their stuff quicker than you do, then that's going to be looked at, right? No matter how they use the AI, if they use it as a base or if they use it to finish stuff or whatever, that's, I think, what companies are going to be more interested in. Because then they see like, oh, that's like a huge productivity boost. We want that. And then they're probably going to tell other people to use AI as well, in whatever way they want, right? As long as we get to that productivity gain in the end. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how that's going to work. Yeah, I hope you're right about AI. KD, I don't know. Like, I honestly, if I have to explain how the way that I feel about AI, is like I go through 3 stages. And like, I feel like I'm leaning more towards like the latter. With the latter, to me, is like, I'm just going to ignore it. Because there's also this massive hype cycle going on where like companies are jumping into it and they're just like, oh, AI is the next big thing. But like we discussed before, Metaverse was going to be the next big thing, and they dropped that like it was nothing, right? Is the same going to happen to AI? Maybe, maybe not. You know, companies are actually like embedding it into their tool set already, but from the tools that we're seeing currently, is it will just help you do like all the boring stuff way quicker. Like Microsoft had like a good example of that, where it just helps you like get up to speed if you're late to a meeting, or if someone sends you like a really long email, right? And you can just tell it to like, hey, send me a summary of this and send a reply based on this PowerPoint presentation or whatever, right? So it can get the information from the PowerPoint and then send like a reply back with the context from that PowerPoint so that they have all they need to then go further, right? So there's like a bunch of interesting stuff that can happen, but Yeah, I don't know. Like on the art side, like a lot of it seems linked to copyright or not, right? Like, and if they can't get 100% copyright, that means that artist jobs are not necessarily in danger. They're gonna change, but change is normal, right? Yeah. Saw the ruling. I think it's good for artists. Yeah, but like that was gonna be pretty normal, right? Like, I think so at least. Like, if they already had that in place for people, they're gonna do the same thing for like just programs out there. You know? So yeah, it's actually very interesting. But I went from like being like really over the top, you know, like the first stage of like, oh my god, AI is gonna change everything, right? But that's the hype cycle talking. I realize that now. And it's just like to get you hyped up and to get you to buy into like all the latest stuff, right? And even if it does, right? Even if it does and it literally changes up like everything, then I'm not really worried about like my job anymore because it will literally change up everything in that case, right? And that's like the utopian vision, right? Where oh, people can just work on whatever they want and blah blah blah. We're not there. We're not there. The thing I like about the Firefly is that it clearly shows how much of a difference copyrighted content, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and DALL-E uses makes. Leagues ahead at this point. I actually haven't looked at the stuff that's come out of it. But it makes sense, right? Like if you use a different data set, yeah, makes sense that it's gonna look different as well. But I actually haven't looked at the differences. Seeing how it shakes out is pretty rational. I remember the internet coming out as a teenager and it was bananas, wacky dystopian and utopian predictions. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, and the reason why I came to that conclusion is because I've been interested in crypto, right? I've been following NFT stuff. And a lot of that stuff is just hype. You know, it's like overblowing the product to where people actually believe in it, even though the functionality is not there to support what they actually want to say. Right? That's what it comes down to. And like, yeah, everyone says like, oh, AI is going to replace my job. But then all the tools that we're currently seeing is just like, hey, send me a summary of my email. Right? That's basically what it comes down to. Or like generate a picture that you can't use in a commercial way. Right? Or generate a bunch of text that you can't use in a commercial way. So yeah. I think with stuff like this, it's always the Wild West, right? Because legislation and all that stuff is way too slow to react to this. And I think it has its good side as well, where they properly get to look at this, take their time, and then really think about the impact of it, and then make like a definitive kind of ruling on it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, like the copyright stuff, right? Like that feels like a very, very good take on it. Where they actually looked at it, they thought about the actual impact of it, and then made like a pretty good decision on top of it. Yeah, the same thing happened with the internet. The same thing happened with, I don't know, like you can see it with everything, right? Hold on, let me be right back. Whoa, sorry, had to sneeze there. Firefly is still in 2021 at this point. It's a much larger data set. Yeah. We'll see. You know, I'm not going to worry about the future too much. Like, I'll keep an eye on it. But, like, all the hype, you got to be careful that you don't get dragged away in it. Because at the end of the day, what you need to keep in mind is that when someone is cranking up the heat and they're applying a lot of hype and they want to sell you something, That's a dangerous combination, right? Like to me currently it feels like we're in that weird phase. Like if you go to booking.com, right? And you're looking at like a holiday that you want to book, and right next to it it says like, oh, 6 people have been looking at this in the last hour. That's literally only there to increase the pressure to get you to buy. And that's also what happened in here, right? I think, and it kind of worked, right? Like Microsoft implemented it, Google's working on their own thing. Like a bunch of stuff is kind of being implemented with AI right now. And the scientists don't even know what the fuck it's doing. So we'll see. We will see. I look at the Corridor Digital example as a good example. The anime video they did shows a positive and a negative. The positive is what talented people can achieve. The negative is why we need to respect copyrighted IP. Oh yeah, but that's a weird one, right? Because in that case, I think they... yeah. I think the main gripe with that was definitely that it was still using Dolly, right? Dolly or Midjourney. I can't remember the two. And that is trained on an unethical dataset, right? So that was the main issue there. That's why a lot of people hated it. This was because it was trained on an unethical dataset. But if the dataset is all cleaned up, right? That stuff is still gonna happen. It's not because they use different data inputs that it's not gonna be there. Right? And in that case, let's say they used it. Let's do a thought experiment, right? Let's say they did use it on they did use like an ethical data set and it would still look the same. I think people would have been more okay with it. But I think it would still be interesting to look at like the nuance of it, where if they then monetize that video, then they shouldn't be able to do that. Well, at least from what I can tell, right? It goes into the whole copyright conversation again, where if it's just like 100% AI, well, I guess to their extent it isn't, right? Because they're still feeding it like, well, they're still doing like green screen recordings from themselves. So I guess it's not really 100% AI. Yeah. At least it should get looked at, right? But yeah. I don't know. Like, I went through this whole cycle, this whole gradient of like, oh, I'm scared. And now it's just like, I don't care. Like, I think it's a little bit overblown. If there's gonna be stuff that's gonna make my life easier, cool. I'll use it and I'll keep an eye on it for sure. But all the doom and gloom about like, oh, it's gonna destroy everything that we know and love, especially when it comes to games, right? It's not gonna be that big of a deal, I think. It will change, for sure. 100%. Like, it will change the way that we deal with stuff, but not to the extent that people think about it. At least that's what my thought about it is. How do you all feel about it? Oh, and then, hello, Mazel Tov. Sorry, forgot to reply there. Yeah, that's a interesting conversation though. Thank you so much for bringing it up as like a little break here. Go back to some landscape painting, shall we? Whoop. Let's do it. Where were we? We were making this little entrance area, right? Doesn't make too much sense over there. Yes. Okay, where were we? So, we got this little area. Let me add a light in here. Let's maybe clear this up a little bit. Yeah, also, the whole AI conversation is kind of getting tiring. You guys feel that? Like, it's just like, ugh. Another company is using AI. Great. Just so done. At this point. There's actually, if we're talking about the opposite side, right? There's actually like a bunch of interesting things that are happening with people that are trying to make use of this hype cycle. And then they launch like 3D modeling software that's built by AI, so you can prompt it and then it will like make you like a 3D model. But then they also had an opening for a 3D artist like a couple of months ago. So a lot of people are speculating that it's just like a bunch of people making like really quick models, like really dirty, and then they tout it as being AI. Yeah, that's like the flip side of the coin that you're gonna get. Okay, so what are we adding in here? Couple of beds. Hatched bed. Needs to be finished as well. Also, flatten this out. Yeah, that's what you get. Like with the Wild West attitude of like, oh, anything goes. What is it like? Iterate fast and break stuff. That whole mentality. You're gonna get that, right? Because people are so like, oh, what's the next thing? Let me buy into it. Like, ugh. Sarah, that could literally have happened, you know? It could literally have happened. It might even be happening as we speak. Like, it's ridiculous. Because to be honest, like, we don't know our self-worth, right? When it comes to like charging people for like the work that we do. A lot of, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people, like if you go on Fiverr, right? If you go on Fiverr and you want to get like a 3D model done really quick, you're gonna be surprised by some of the prices that they offer. And it's just crazy. Like unfeasible, like profitability wise, but yeah. Someone's gonna make use of that, you know? Yeah, stuff like that is crazy. Oh. Doesn't really have enough power. Where's my little rush light? Yeah, that's probably even worse. Lighting in medieval times is not too great, huh? This is honestly the stuff that I struggle the most with, is like finding like, maybe we can play with the auto exposure a little bit. I don't know, finding ways to light up like dark places in medieval times is interesting. Okay. So, what are they doing here? Not to sound mean or anything, but on Sketchfab I've seen some great useful models for free. And some other objectively more low effort stuff be $100. Oh yeah, like go on Turbo Squid. Right? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised by what people ask. And because here's the thing, right? Like the reality of it is it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter how much you ask. But if people are willing to buy it, that's the more important factor in that equation, right? Because let's say if you put like this one single pile of logs and you set it to $100, but people are willing to buy it, why not, right? Why wouldn't you sell it? Because I mean, yeah, if you look at like, and this is honestly gonna be like an important thing in the future, because what we're seeing now is a transition from just the only option that you have. Well, it's going on for a while, right? So it's not just happening now. But like the only option that you have as like an artist is to work for a studio and then work on a game and then do it that way, right? What we're seeing now is that there's like a real creator economy forming for asset creation, right? So figuring out how much you can ask for the services that you bring to the table as like an individual artist now, more important than ever, I would say. Because if you are interested in this, like the Unreal Engine for Fortnite stuff is going to be a big game changer, right? Because they need content and we as artists can provide content. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So they're gonna get some of this stuff on. Oh, you know what? We have another setup here, right? Got these big sawhorses. Yeah, these ones. So these are pretty cool. Figure this out. So what happens here is like this log, they're gonna drag that on top of this stuff. Right? And they'll put it inside of this little indent over here. So that it's stuck. And then they'll reinforce it with that little thingy behind it. Or like put it in place with that little stopper behind it. Yeah, and then they just can start cleaving away. It's actually a pretty interesting setup. I think honestly that would be a pretty interesting discussion topic for next time. Is how, man, I wanna spend some more time in like fleshing out like the thoughts on that though. Like how to make use of the upcoming like 3D artist economy. Be very interesting. Let me write a note for that. So we're gonna bring in the logs here. Maybe it's a smaller one, so maybe we're not gonna do that. Okay, and this is all firewood, so we don't necessarily need that because that's only used for the house itself. Technically, we know they don't have a fire inside the house, but let's ignore that. So we have this stuff going on. We're gonna pick up. We're gonna come and pick up some of these beams. Need to see. This is more like a market cart. I think this one is probably going to be with like more horse-drawn carriages. So maybe I think I have like a really crude placeholder here. So maybe let's do something like that instead, like ox-drawn carriages or whatever. These beams are large. They go into the forest, then they veer off to the right. Let's just quickly add some more forest to this section, shall we? So that's blocked off. That's looking good. Let me actually set up some hotkeys here. So this section needs to be cleared up a little bit. What do we do here? So we got number 1. Oh, pest control. So control 1. You can go back to that one if we wanted to. And then we have a clearing opening. Right. So this clearing opening. And then we have the workshop itself. For 3. And then we have like a zoomed in shot. And then the exit. Cool. What would you say are your favorite aspects about Unreal? That's a good question. Favorite aspects? That it's so easy to make stuff look pretty. Especially with Lumen. Where I don't need to bother with like shadow maps or anything like that anymore. I think that's probably like my favorite aspect, where you can make stuff look real good, like real quick. Like in an approachable way. Is my single favorite thing. Okay, paint. Oh, this is foliage stuff, right? So let's cut some of that stuff out. I need. What would you say are your pet peeves or aspects in that you dislike? There's probably like a bunch of stuff. You know, especially for like open world, like creation. I don't know. There were, well, they're getting really good at it now, but there were like a lot of simple things that were still missing, right? Like the procedural content creation tool for 5.2 is like a big one for me. In terms of other pet peeves, think. Oh, they're coming from the thingy. From the material. It's painted on the landscape. That's why I can't remove them. Let's make sure that they are. Yeah, I'm thinking, Sarah Papa. It's a good question. Any pet peeves? There's like a bunch of quality of life things that we had like working with Dunia, with like the engine that Far Cry uses. And one of them was that you had a hotkey to like duplicate or like place, not even duplicate, but like place an object like on the terrain, like at your cursor. Super, probably one of the most handy things like in that engine, like honestly. And that's what I miss, because now it's like you duplicate something and it's like, you just rotate and like move it into place. But there it was literally just, you would, and I think you can, I saw something, like some people on Twitter were talking about it. Like you could literally duplicate something and press Q and click, and it would literally snap it to the terrain and like angle it perfectly, and it was done, you know? Such a nice little hotkey. Pet peeves these days, I think not really pet peeves today, but there's like a bunch of experimental stuff that is still experimental after a really long time, and it makes it kind of unpredictable if it's ever not going to be experimental. Which makes it kind of tricky if you want to release a pack, but you still want to stay on like the bleeding edge of like all the tech that they use. It's a balance between stability and like being on that bleeding edge. Yeah, that's yeah, another pet peeve, I would say. Hi, Aloya! How's it going? How are you doing? Right, so I'm gonna remove more of this stuff so that the path becomes a little bit clearer. This one is foliage stuff. Yeah, these smaller ones are kind of annoying, actually. Don't know if I want them in the material. Yeah, I'm doing great. Having fun with a new little scene using the assets that we made. Yeah, can't complain about it too much. Hey, Dakar, welcome back. Did you, after 2.5 hours, complete your shader compilation? So yeah, let's have a look. $200. And let's make this a little bit more muddy. Finished. Nice. Making renders for portfolio model last 4 days. I wanted to ask you to check out my model when I finish it and post it on ArtStation. Every Wednesday we do have a work in progress Wednesday event where I give feedback to people. So you can definitely be part of that if you wanted to. And we also, next week, we got a portfolio review coming up with a couple of people. But I think the priority always goes to people from the community, right? So I don't know if we're full up for that event or not. Not sure on that. Let's push some stuff in closer, right? Well, not that close. Maybe also not these very small ones. And not the very big ones either. That is a good question. What are you working on? It's actually... Don't want to do that. I thought I could just select a single one. Apparently not. Why is it not? Is on. Probably too close to the other ones, right? Oh, you know what? Instead, I'm doing these small tweaks already. I'm gonna put it manually. Trees. This is a small one. I thought you give feedback on Wednesdays only to full environment artists. Oh, what do you mean? Professional ones? No, like that's open to anyone. So feel free to come in and share your work. Usually, what I'll do is I will do community artists first, right? So people that are part of Beyond Extend, they get priority. Then if I have time left at the end of the stream, depending on how many people I have to go through, then I'll do people that still want help. So I don't know if that's what I confuse you with. So I'm trying to fill up this space a little bit more because we have a lot of open space for some reason. Really dense stuff going on here. Kinda like it. Kinda. Trying to decide if I like it or not. We need small trees. We need saplings. Working on a hand radio? That's awesome. Matthew S, do you have any tutorials on how you make trees or ground foliage? Nope. I don't. Unfortunately not. For the trees, I've made my own tool. In Blender geometry nodes. Which kind of mimics the way that SpeedTree does it, but like obviously like not as detailed as SpeedTree does it. But yeah, I don't have any tutorials on that. Would actually be interesting to maybe get some tutorials out because I have like a little bit of a backlog on them. Like a backlog. I have some ideas and I've written some tutorials, like the one on like vertex baking that I have on my own channel. I just need to do it all on this channel. Would be a good idea though. I'll add it to the list if I ever get to it. Oh, now saying that, I have written tutorials in like the PDF in the Environment Artist Handbook that I update like every month. There's actually a lot of them in there, like how I use particle effects in Blender to create and to scatter ground foliage, and there's probably also like a bunch of stuff on foliage in there too. Plus, in the future, we also have some tips from one of our guests in there too, which is all going to be about foliage. So it's not a YouTube tutorial, but it is a written one. Small tips and tricks. What is we actually still have... No, we don't have any cameras anymore. Because it makes such a big difference. So... I want a cinematic camera. Bonk. And we're gonna take this boy and fly. Pilot. Where are we? Sensor width, we're gonna go way wide. That. Yeah, the issue that we have here is we're gonna have to push the camera far out if we do wider focal lengths, like more up close ones. It's actually not that great of a shot, honestly. Not yet, at least. So this tree is up. Put a camera in. Do a little bit of tweakage later. I feel like where that section is going though. Starts to feel like pretty natural. Aloya, the hand radio that you're working on, is that did I ask that before? Is that following a tutorial? A little bit more grassy. Yeah, we'll need to fix some of these gradients because the height maps that are currently used for blending are not really that great. I think the mud one is pretty good. The other ones just need some tweaking. And we might actually put some of these other trees here, right? I did it only using refs. There's no tutorial on the internet. Oh, okay. Because I know that there's like military radio tutorials and all that stuff out there. I was wondering. Small, these saplings. Not really. Not for this area. I think this area is going to be very interesting because you kind of want to indicate that they've been doing logging, but you kind of also want to make sure that there's still some stuff to fill in the area. Right, so you should be able to like see a bunch of it, but then also still get an indication that this was a forest too. Oh, nice! You got a mentor for it. That's cool. Why didn't you? I mean, I would love to check your models out, right? If you want to take part in like Work in Progress Wednesday, but you can also ask your mentor, right? It's also an option, right? Or you could ask both of us. Getting some little islands of trees. I love where that is going. So I'm actually trying to just get some little clusters of trees, right? Because that always looks a little bit better than just having like a very uniform kind of approach. I also don't want them to be too dense that they clutter up like the whole thing. Might honestly be better off with just like hand placing at this point. Especially for the ones that are kind of close. Ooh. So that we're kind of filling this place in a little bit more. And then maybe... like maybe on this side we'll paint some grass? Or intense patches of grass, and then we'll redefine some of the lines again in it. We can be... someone is tracking through this, so let me just put that on 1. Someone did track through this. Someone is going there. And they're also going that way. Right? Then we get like this little island of grass. And we'll probably just put a little tree in there as well. Oh, it's doing weird stuff with the foliage tool again. There we go. Yeah, that's a good one. Try to get as much feedback as you can. One of the things that I really need to do on these trees, by the way, if we're talking about trees, is like really upscale the leaves because they're so small and they make it feel like really noisy. Need to really make some work with that. Wait, instead of this, little tree stump. Our flashy 90s tree stump. Let's add that one in there. Two, 3. Number 4 is obscured as well. Yeah. Nice. And then let's go back in to clean up. One dough. Yeah, the shadows are really dark, but tweak that. Rocks. Tiny rocks. Hey ho! How's it going? Just scatter some rocks in there. Yeah, don't want this to be floating. No, thank you. How you doing, Shitty Podcast? This is where the fun begins. Escape. Pattern. I'll do that. Nice. We're getting some interesting compositions going. I think honestly. Oh. Now started making tiny textures for Thiago Klaff's course. I have never used Substance Designer before, but it's super hard though. Yeah, I think the start of it is pretty rough, you know, for sure. But it's also good that you're getting started with it because it's such a powerful program. Keep at it. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Trees. Like a big one in here? Feels a little too much. Well, these trees are gonna get reworked anyway, like the big ones are. Well, yeah, maybe the small ones too for like the little color or like thingy adjustments. Come on in! Hey, how's it going? As we learn how to make textures in Unreal Engine, Substance Designer is way more user-friendly. Textures in Unreal Engine? What do you mean? Or materials, you mean? Designer is more user-friendly? Yeah, material. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Interesting. Wait, already got this one. Small boy. Maybe we do put a big one in. What did I look at these big ones, the more disappointed I am. Yeah, I feel like this one can work. Big chunky boy in there. Something like that. Sweet. We do have to soften some of this up though. But you know what? I'm gonna make this a shorter stream. I kind of feel like I'm running out of steam. Just need to step back and relax a little bit. I'm honestly really happy with the stuff that we got today though. Like I like the density that we got here, like the intro part. And then where it transitions in like the open part where you can see like the logging happening. I like what we have going here. Then we got the exit. Logically, we got all the pieces in place. I think it's just like dressing it up, making it pretty, adding more details. And yeah. I think it's going in the right direction. In the meantime, what I'll do after the stream is I'll probably fix some of the issues that are currently going on with the lighting. And then probably do some detailing on like some of these assets that are currently untextured and unfinished. And then probably finish off this card as well, make it pretty. So yeah, we're gonna switch it over. And I'm just gonna thank you all for being here. I know this is a shorter stream than normal, but gotta make do, we gotta make do. And honestly, like I like where we left it, you know? I feel like we did a whole bunch of stuff today. And we talked about some good stuff. We have a new scene that is pretty, that's going along pretty nicely. So yeah. Yeah, that card tip to you and everyone else. Like have a good Friday. Yeah, demo was late. Yeah, I know. It's also gonna be a shorter one. So I'm probably gonna chill out like in the Discord chat room for a little bit, talk to some people. And then yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back next Wednesday. I was thinking if there's like another stream in between, but I don't think this time. But next Wednesday, I'll be back for Work in Progress Wednesday. Oh no, Tuesday. Portfolio reviews on Tuesday. Tuesday evening at 7 UTC, I think. So to get used to the time conversion on that, but we'll be looking at some portfolios. I'll add it to the YouTube stream anyway. So I'll probably do that after the stream immediately. If you want to check out the portfolio stream there. It's going to be nice. And then the day after, I'll be back with some Work in Progress Wednesday. And then more art stuff next Friday. It's going to be a busy week. Right, so I'm going to leave it here. Thank you all so much for being here. And I wish you all a great day and stay creative. Bye-bye.